Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Sun Up on 7. I hope that you enjoyed that conversation with the department, with the Ministry of Sustainable Development, particularly talking about the phasing out of single-use plastic in the country, which again contributes to human health, contributes to environmental health, and everybody plays a key role in following and abiding by this legislation. There's always something that you can do to reduce your plastic use. Whenever you go to the shop, take your bag, take your tote bags. They're pretty cool. We've been having here on the Sun Up where there have been artists preparing and manufacturing some of these really cool products. So that's one idea that you can do to contribute and be part of this phasing change. And let's join our Association of Real Estate Brokers of Belize, and we're talking about what the association is about. There's an update with the real estate industry in Belize. So let's talk about that update as well and the benefits for anybody that wants to join this association. So to have this conversation, we have Mr. Frick Demir, who's a board member of the association, and Mr. Hugo Muguel. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you so much
Morning.
for being on our couch.
For having us.
Before we get into our conversation, we'd just like to do a quick check-in to see how are you feeling this morning. Let's start with Mr. Frick. How are you feeling?
Absolutely good. Excited to be here. Absolutely.
Great. Thank you for joining us. How are you, Hugo?
I'm feeling better, thank you.
Great. I love it.
We're glad. We like when our guests are actually, happy to be in the seat
Uh-huh.
because we have a lot to talk about, right?
It's a
Yeah.
comfortable couch and
Yeah.
nice
Yeah.
settings.
You
so
see, that's
I'm
what we
feeling good.
like here. You're
Thank
enjoying
you.
the set. So let's talk a little bit first about just the idea of the Real Estate Association. First of all, how long was it formed? And first, why exactly, especially in Belize? Because sometimes when you think about real estate, I think people, their minds automatically go to the States. And you're not really thinking about real estate in Belize per se. So can we go into just like the inception of like, how was it birthed?
Yeah, thanks for framing it like that, because we were formed back in 2007. And the reason was because government was looking to implement some heavy duties onto the industry. And at that point, it was really growing, really starting to take off, right? So people had been talking within the industry for years that we need to formalize, we need to come together, but it never happened. Now, what was going to happen in a nutshell was GST was going to be added to an already high stamp duty, which is the transfer tax, right? And whenever you transfer title. So different members called each other, different people in the industry. It was started actually in Placencia. It was Madeline Lamont and Stuart Crone. They were both developers, right? And then they called people that they knew. I was included in that group. And we quickly formalized and went to government to lobby, right? So that's how AREB began, as a lobbying group for the industry, right? And when you state, you think about the States, a lot of people they look at real estate and see the TV shows, they see what's going on in America, and they're not seeing what's going on right here in their own country, right? On their own soil. And so for many years, we saw places like Ambergris Key develop right in front of our eyes, and we saw values just escalate. So Placencia now, Kikaka as well. So now people are starting to realize, listen, there's value to this. And guess what? We can also create additional value to it. Now, where brokers come in, right? We're the middlemen, right? And women, right? So we represent buyers and sellers, right? And so when someone is looking to buy or invest in property, we're the ones that are supposed to have the knowledge, be able to give them the advice that they need to identify the properties and guide them throughout the process. It has evolved now where people from the States and other countries also invest, also retire. So you got to guide them beyond the purchase, right? So it's a very solemn relationship, right? And it's something that you have a certain level of responsibility, right, to your clients, because these are massive investments. And then when you're talking about someone's home, that's the biggest asset they own,
Very true.
right? So you have to take that very seriously when you give them advice, right, and guide them through that process of sale and purchase. And really, that's what the association represents, right? It's guiding towards excellence in the industry and elevating the standards that we have today. Right?
And there's definitely a totally different momentum going on in the real estate industry too. You saw 15 years ago, association came there because there were questions, the need was rising. But in 15 years, a lot has changed in Belize.
Oh, yes.
In the real estate and the land and the housing market. So it's not just the need anymore for the hotspots. It's not only Belize City that needs a real estate agent and San Pedro and Placencia. No, it's been coming all over the country. There's a lot of other villages have been expanding. There's more demand for the whole Belizean market to buy and sell. People get mortgages, want to buy a house, they need advice. So there's a lot of local, new, smaller agencies that have been starting up all over the country. And the same thing they all have is questions, right? Because there is regulation, there is financial regulation. You can't just wire large amounts of money around without
Yeah.
licenses. So there's financial intelligence unit, there's central bank regulations for exchange between Belize dollars, US dollars. There's a lot of regulations at the lands department that constantly changes and updates, companies registry, all these things have to be involved. So all these brokers have questions, right? And so there's really the need for a central body to advise, to collect the information, but also to give some input to these bodies, because they keep changing the regulations or adding on. But I think they are also demanding some feedback from the industry, right? And the Real Estate Association has just been, a non-official body, right? We have always been there as from the industry out itself. But yeah, that's why this new regulation is really so important that we get an official status, right?
Yeah.
Internationally, a lot of countries have that, and definitely American buyers that come here to Belize. They're used to like, oh yeah, are you a licensed broker? Can you show me your license? What's the procedures here? And we really want to go that route. It's got to be a more professionalized industry. That's
Most
where we're going.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yes, Ugo, you mentioned that one of the roles of the association is to do lobbying, and you have been going in the process of formalizing this association. Of course, trying to make everything, I guess, as legit as possible, for transparency, for accountability, and for people to be comfortable and trusting with what's happening when it comes to
Yeah,
real estate
correct.
buying. So, what have been some of these lobbying things that the association has been, or what have you been lobbying for exactly?
Well, the first major victory was really the reduction of stamp duties. We were well over 10% at one point. I think we were at 15% for non-Belizean buyers. And when we came in and we saw that GST was going to be attached to certain elements of real estate, then the government decided, you're right, we see how it's growing. And we see, we were right in the middle of the market was booming, a recession was headed. So it was put in where everything was reduced down to 5%. So across the board. And they went a step further. They said above or below 20,000, if you pay, 20,000 and or less for your lot, you don't pay stamp duty. So that helped out a lot of people, first investors buying your first property, investing in your first piece of land. So that was huge for the industry, right?
Definitely.
So I could tell you that one major thing, listening to Frick just now and putting that together with your question, fast forward to today, right? We have a body made up of brokers and agents from across Belize, right? And our board was increased late last year to include members from Hamburg Risky and Placencia as well, right?
Okay.
And the idea behind that is really to get the perspective of what's going on the ground in all those areas. So when we speak on behalf of the industry, it's because we're guided by the individuals actually,
Right.
leading the market in those areas, in those markets, right? So that for us has been tremendous. The next step is going to be an MLS system, a multiple listing service, right? And so we're actively developing that right now, and that will be one database of all the properties that are available for sale that are
Wow.
represented by our brokers.
Okay.
So you no longer have to go and visit 20, 30, 40 different websites, right? There is one website, one source for that information. And for us now on the industry side, and for other stakeholders, now we're going to have a database of transactions. So we got a database of values, right? And that's so important because, in the past, two things, and I guess we could get into that, Foreign Exchange Controls Act, stamp duties. There was a move towards, increasing stamp duties on people after the purchase, right? And the idea was that the value was higher than what was stated. Well, what's your reference and what's your justification? We wouldn't get.
Okay.
But guess what? On us, though, I always say, listen, if you want to fix things, you start with your own house, right? So guess what? This is the information, right? time, live information, right? These are the transactions. So you tell me how you're getting that value when this is what the market is actually paying, right? So in terms of guiding development, investment, it's going to be such a game changer once we have that under the umbrella of the association, because now you know it's transparent and it's for everyone. It's not being led by just one company, right?
Okay.
Or one person, right? It's a group.
Mr. Frick, in regards to, I know you, which I really appreciate is the fact that, licensing being official is something that's on, the horizon for you. How long will it take the association to get that? Like, what is the process to get that done?
Well, the bill, the regulation has been through a lot of reviews over the years, right? But that's why also this call is there to the market and to the political world, right? We now started doing some more intense lobbying, because we really need the political support to get this bill approved, right? So that's why we really want to be out there. The more members we have, the more body we can show and show that is really the need is there for this organization and for this regulation, right? Because it's not that we want to push that, but it's really a demand from both the providers, right? All the smaller agents, they want to know, can I get a training? There's nothing like that available.
So I know the way Mr. Hugo was talking is like, you guys really have to know about the customer service, but also understand the industry, what's happening, different regulation, also the updates of what's happening. And I think that you really need to be trained along that line.
Yeah, so the people are asking, there's a huge young generation of new real estate agents in Belize, and they're really looking out and contacting all the more established agencies, and they say, hey, what's the regulation? Can we work together? I want to know about this. I want to learn about this. But there's no, not like no real estate training available yet. And that's really where we want to go, that there's a regulation. This is what your license procedure, that everybody gets trained, because that's what a lot of foreigners that come to invest in Belize also look at, hey, are you licensed? Have you trained? Do you know the regulations? Because they don't just want to bring in foreign investment and then hand out their dollars to somebody that says like, oh yeah, I can take care of this,
Right.
yeah. So it's really to avoid any mishandling in the industry, to make sure that we internationally present as a very professional industry. That's the most important, that people want to come here, do foreign investments, right? That's one. And then the second is also for the local market. So there's really two big sides of it. Yeah.
And I can tell you, when you start looking at real estate, we're brokers, right? So that's a very specific position. But when you talk about real estate, it's huge. I mean, it encompasses so many different avenues for business and commerce. I mean, so many professionals. You're talking about surveyors, architects, builders, legal professionals. I mean, it's a wide gamut. So when a transaction, one single transaction takes place, a lot of hands, get to touch that pie. So, magnify that, multiply that out, you see? And the thing is, in Belize and most places, you see people coming together and you see people start to make noise and when things go wrong, right? When there's a problem, right? And then you come together and you have to fix this and address this.
Yeah.
Fine. We're at this point now, and there's an opportunity now within the association where we say, yeah, there are things wrong and they're getting fixed. But guess what? There's just so much potential. And our people really need to see it and understand it and be able to benefit from it. I mean, there's a huge awareness now across the country. Frick mentioned villages, you're seeing subdivisions pop up. I mean, and our young people, I mean, when you talk about opportunities, right? What can they study? What can they get into? You don't have to be a broker. I mean, you can study
You
like
mentioned
I did
a whole
do it.
bunch of
Huge.
stakeholders.
I mean, we need more
participate in this.
surveyors, you need appraisers. I mean,
but people don't know about those
builders,
opportunities if you
Thank
don't
you.
have it out there. And I think it's something that we really need to be expanding our horizons. Again, we talked about this, that
Absolutely.
you feel like it's something international. You don't think that you can apply it to your right here and your roots. And I think we need to change that atmosphere to open up that new industry for Belize
Yeah,
here.
because real estate is on the basis of a lot of other economies too. Think about the farming industry. It's all land, it's land transactions.
Yeah, definitely.
Think about the call centers. Where are they? Well, in a big building, that need to be sold or buy or
Very
leased
true.
or rented.
Yeah.
So there's every industry. I mean, it comes back every single time.
Definitely.
And it is something something that has just not been recognized enough, we think, in Belize, and that there's, we're huge drivers of the economy, right? The industry and real estate, the revenues have been multiplied multiple times over the last decade. And so there really is the high demand and need for getting
So
some
as
attention
we
there.
wind down this conversation, one thing that sparks up is that there are viewers that maybe might want to join this association.
Absolutely.
So how can viewers or persons that are interested in being part of this association become members?
The,
Yeah,
sorry,
Go ahead.
the easiest and best way is just go on the website, arebb.com.
Okay.
And there's a link right there on how to join, and it's easy. It's an online application. You fill in your name, your information, and then that goes to the board for review,
Okay.
and then you get your acceptance, right?
You have all the qualifications there too as well, because people are going to want to do I qualify for this. So all of that is there.
Well, you
too
see,
as well.
right now we're being more inclusive than we used to be.
Okay.
And the reason is because, like Frick mentioned, we need more training. We need the certification
Yeah.
process, right? So that will be developed, right? When the bill comes in, you're going to have to go through a certification process to apply for your license, Not unlike tour guides and this thing, but you have seen how that has elevated
Yes.
their standards, right? And their level of performance, right? So we're looking at it in that perspective. But basically, if you're interested, if you want to be a part of the industry, apply, right? And then you will be in the loop with communications and all that we're doing. We're looking to set up a meeting next month.
Okay.
So, you join now, you're going to be a part
Right.
of that, right?
And that the more members, the more pressure and the more value we can show to the government too for the need.
Representation
We're
as
not
well.
10 companies, we're 50 companies, we're 80 companies, we're 100 companies that asking for this regulation. And so that really shows that we need more members. We need to show the industry that we're there, and all these things will help. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm loving this because I'm just seeing opportunities for young people to be able to branch out. Anytime I see stuff like this, how I'm like, I just get so happy because
Yeah.
I'm like, this is a new industry we can
It
invest
is,
in.
it is, yeah.
We can be able to grow, and like at the peak right now, it's been some years, so there's so much players that we can put in
There's
place.
so much smaller villages, smaller areas that
Yes.
real estate brokers in the past wouldn't go there because it was too small. There was no market. But now there's more people coming there. The village is expanding. People want to resell their little piece of land, so that there's
Yeah,
the need for this service. So we see these small brokers coming up, and they need guidance. They're asking, they're demanding. We're not pushing this. They're really coming to us all the time, asking for guidance. And that's where we just see the association now is really stepping up the plate this year. The board members doubled up. The amount of association members is going up very quickly.
That's really
And so we have a big action plan, getting the real estate bill out there, getting multiple listing systems out there. We have a big marketing plan. So yeah, we really need to get out there this
Great.
year.
Most definitely. Again, thank you so
Thank you
much,
both.
gentlemen, for here. Mr. Frick, Mr. Hugo, thank you for being
Thank
here
you.
and sharing the great information. I'm sure people are going to be messaging, checking on the website to fill out that registration. And just that's the first initial step to any viewer out there that's wondering, how do I get into it? I don't understand anything about it. That's totally fine because they're going to be walking through you with that process. You're going to be included in all the communication emails. And you can actually begin your journey to be a real estate agent and broker. Don't think these are foreign terms that are for only outside
no.
people, but think about it for our own country and how you can be able to know and develop your community as well.
Yep. We'll be back with an update.
Yeah. Oh yes, I'm just gonna ask
love
him
to
like,
hear
so
that.
you're gonna be
Yeah.
back and telling
There's
us
a lot of
how
things
much.
happening this year, and so we'll
Yeah.
make sure we'll be back.
Yeah.
I'm
for
looking
sure.
forward to it because it's exciting
always
news.
welcome.
Good, so we're
Our couch.
invited, right?
Yes, you're always welcome. That's an open
The couch,
invitation.
you like the couch already. After the third time,
I don't want to laugh.
so we have a thing. After the third, you come, you have to dance, and then the fifth, you get a mug. Okay. Okay, so just be prepared for
I'll have to
that.
time that one.
I think we'll rotate.
Bring Sarah up at that one.
Send some other members over.
For the third one, I see you're trying to play smart, but it's okay. Again, thank you so much,
Thank you
gentlemen,
too.
for being here. And
All
so
right, have
with
a great
that,
day.
we go to our next commercial break, and we'll be right back.